I'd say in terms of like specific things that you do in the mental game, what would you say are some of those most specific things that you do in the mental game that help you?
I think so far the biggest help for me has been the routines and the processes. And I always knew that a routine was important. I always felt like I had a pretty decent routine, but it was never really structured or detail oriented in the way that it is now. Using things like Habit Share and the Google Calendar to organize my days and give myself that concrete structure. I didn't realize how many things I was missing that I just kind of went in and out of my mind without thinking about it twice. And having those things put down on paper and being organized in that way, I feel like there's a lot more boxes that I'm checking every day. And it also takes that mental weight off of me of feeling like, what do I have to do next? Am I forgetting something? Basically my day has turned into wake up and execute. And that has simplified so many things for me and also given me the mental freedom to be able to build on top of what I'm already doing instead of feeling like I'm always fighting that uphill battle.
My life has turned into wake up and execute. Love that. And speaking of execution in game, talk about as a pitcher, some of the tools you use like on the mound, whether it be a breath, whether it be 3 keys to keep it simple, visualizing a pitch. What are you doing specifically when you're out there in competition?
Yeah, I think you mentioned the biggest one being breath. That's the greatest controllable that we have on the mound, second to probably execution. The breath recenters you, it realigns you, it resets you. So, that's a great way for me to be able to control myself on the mound when the uncontrollables around me are kind of going astray. And then that focusing on execution. You gave up a home run. Okay, well, was it an executed pitch? If yes, okay, chuck it in the fuck it bucket and move on. If not, okay, let's take a look at the process that went into that execution. Was the breath there? Was your timing there? Were the mechanics on? Was it the right pitch call? And I found myself, before I got into this, questioning a lot of those things without thinking about if I executed the pitch or not. I threw the pitch that was called and it got hit. Okay, well, why did that happen? Probably the wrong pitch or probably the wrong timing. And never did I think about, like, was it where I wanted it? Yeah, I was over the plate, but was it a quality pitch? Was it a good pitch? And I think that made it a lot easier for me to go in and like fly through a game analysis and a post-game report and be like, okay, well, I didn't execute a lot of pitches. No wonder I got hit around a little bit. Or no wonder I gave up all these cheap hits and 2-strike counts because I didn't get the breaking ball in the dirt in any of them. And that gave me a lot more clarity on like, what can I work on in my bullpens? Coming out of an outing, things didn't go well, gave up 5 or 6 runs, give up a bunch of hits, whatever it may be. You can kind of narrow that down into, okay, I need to focus more on my 2-strike execution.
Talk just about that word of execution, which you've used a bunch. One, executing through the day. I think people understand having a daily routine. What do I need to do? I wake up and execute and knock out what I need to do, and then I can be guilt-free because I got my shit done. But from a pitching standpoint, execution of just where you can throw the baseball. At the end of the day, the only thing that's controllable is where you throw the baseball. How important has it been for you to just get fucking clarity of what I can and cannot control?
Yeah. There's so many things in this game, especially at the highest level, that are not in your control. And it is a mixture of skill, talent, work ethic, and a little bit of luck too, like being in the right place at the right time. Sometimes you throw the wrong pitch and it doesn't get hit. Sometimes you throw the right pitch and it does get hit. So having a clear cut black and white, did I execute or did I not execute? Like I mentioned before, it makes the analyzation part of things so much easier, and also the ability to flush it and move on. Instead of hanging on to a pitch and getting into a prayer, primal, or perfect situation where you feel like you have to do something extra or be somebody that you're not. It makes it a lot easier to say, well, I didn't execute. Okay, next one I'm going to execute. Let's move on. Or I did execute and it still got hit. Flush it, move on, keep executing.
Love it. Last question for you, Libby. If you could remove the skull cap of every baseball player out there in the world and plant a seed of the mental game in their brain and it would germinate and they'd go do it, what would that one seed be?
I think it would be a love for the game and a why. And I think that I choose those 2 things out of all the things that I could choose, because you can't build a house on a poor foundation. And for me, there's been a lot of trials and tribulations that I've gone through playing this game. And, it's a lot harder to stay in the big leagues than it is to get there. So I think what I've gone through over the last 3 years of playing in the big leagues has forced me to really double down on why I do what I do and how much I love the game. And I think if it weren't for those two things, nothing else would have mattered, because I probably wouldn't be doing it anymore. And so I think that having that foundation gave me the ability to bounce back, the resiliency to keep going when things weren't going my way. It gave me the light at the end of the tunnel when I felt like there was no end of the tunnel. And I think that, those two things are probably the most invaluable things in my baseball career.